Thank you so much for coming here today. So Chevening scholarships. Who's heard of Chevening or the South Asian Journalism Program before? So just थोड़ा लोग, लेकिन बहुत सारे लोग कभी नहीं सुना पहले Chevening या SAJP. ठीक है. So Chevening 1 साल का स्कॉलरशिप है जहाँ पे आप UK पर जा सकते हैं और मास्टर्स डिग्री कर सकते हैं और वो मिड करियर प्रोफेशनल्स के लिए है. फिर 2 साल वर्क एक्सपीरियंस जरूरत है अचीवमेंट के लिए. और साउथ एशियन जर्नलिज्म प्रोग्राम स्पेसिफिकली जर्नलिस्ट के हैं. फिर अचीवमेंट में आप कोई भी सब्जेक्ट कर सकते हैं, कोई भी मास्टर्स में कर सकते हैं और जर्नलिस्ट भी अचीवमेंट के लिए अप्लाई कर सकते हैं और पूरा 1 साल स्कॉलरशिप कर सकते हैं. लेकिन SAJP जर्नलिस्ट स्पेसिफिकली के लिए है क्योंकि 1 साल बहुत लंबा है जर्नलिस्ट के लिए. शायद आपका न्यूज़ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बोलता है नहीं नहीं हम 1 साल के लिए आप रिलीज नहीं कर सकते. फिर इसके लिए हम एक 2 महीने फेलोशिप क्रिएट किया और ये स्पेसिफिकली आपके लिए है. ये एक बिस्पोक फेलोशिप है यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ वेस्टमिंस्टर के साथ और 2 महीने के लिए आप वर्ल्ड लीडिंग प्रोफेशनल्स के साथ जर्नलिज्म स्टडी करेंगे और बहुत प्रैक्टिकली करेंगे. लीडिंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस मिलेंगे. फिर लीडिंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस फाइनेंशियल टाइम्स, BBC, ITV, Channel 4. You'll get to meet them. And you will do a bespoke course by the University of Westminster that has been designed specifically for South Asian journalists. So it will focus on South Asian issues and South Asian politics, issues facing journalists in South Asia. You'll get to meet and make good network and contacts with journalists from across South Asia. Indian journalists, Bangladeshi journalists, Nepali journalists, Sri Lankan journalists. All of you will work together in this 2-month fellowship. और ये बहुत अहम है क्योंकि बहुत सारे कम्युनिकेशन होता नहीं है साउथ एशिया में एंड कनेक्शंस नहीं है जर्नलिज्म कम्युनिटी में. And this program builds that connection. फिर जब बांग्लादेश में सब कुछ हुआ हमारे साउथ एशियन जर्नलिस्ट्स के पास कॉन्टैक्ट्स थे and they were able to get the proper stories on the ground. They were able to find out from their Bangladeshi colleagues exactly what was going on and do better reporting because of it. And that's constantly there. We constantly want to be able to tell stories across the region better, but we don't know how to talk to each other across the region. And the South Asian Journalism Program helps us talk to each other across the region as well. सिर्फ 2 महीने है, फिर बहुत टाइम नहीं है आपके jobs के. You don't have to take much time out from your jobs. And it is practical. आप सब professionals हैं, हमें पता है, आप पता है क्या आप कर रहे हैं. फिर ये practical skills के focus है. Because you don't need too much of the theory, you have the theory, you know what you're doing. This lets you come together with experts in the UK and across South Asia, learn from each other and build each other up and build up your skills. And it's well respected and well recognized. I'll leave it to my colleagues here to talk about exactly how it helps their career because it's better to hear it from a fellow themselves. But it really does make a difference to your journalist career. और सब कुछ fully funded है. पूरा flights, living accommodation, expenses, सब कुछ covered है. So all you need to do is go to the UK for 2 months and focus on learning as much as you can. So this is why I'm here today to talk to you about this fantastic opportunity. अभी applications खुला है and they close on October 10th. So Chevening is this master's program. Applications for Chevening close on November 5th. But applications for SAJP close, so the journalism fellowship close earlier on the October 10th. And they close earlier because the whole process starts earlier. So interviews for the South Asian Journalism Program are earlier than Chevening. They will be in around January time. And when you'll go out there is earlier. You'll go in May, June of next year. Whereas for Chevening scholarships, you'll be interviewed in February till April, and you would go to the UK in September, October of 2025. So if you're looking to apply for the South Asian Journalism Fellowship, now is a good time to start thinking about your application and start putting it together. Now, I've told you what South Asian Journalism Program is. I've tried to say why I think it's good and why you should apply for it. But what do you need to apply for it? So we are looking for people who have at least 7 years of work experience for South Asian Journalism Program. Chevening is 2 years and South Asian Journalism is 7 years. And that's because it's that level of advancement we're looking for. We're looking for people who are already seasoned journalists, who are just looking to hone their skills and take their work and take their skills to the next level. 7 years doesn't have to be 7 years continuously working for one program. It can be made up with different things. If you did freelancing at one point, that counts towards the 7 years. If you did journalism work during your university studies, that also counts towards the 7 years. So think about it creatively as well. What we are looking for is future leaders, people with high potential, people who will not just take what they learn from this fellowship program and use it to advance their own careers, but who will take what they learn and use it to advance their whole sector. They'll use it to make their entire organization better. They'll use it to help their fellow journalists from their area who are up and coming. So we are looking for people who will not just help their own career, but will help journalism in Pakistan as a whole. Now, there'll be 4 different areas you're asked about in the application. You'll be asked about leadership and influencing. You'll be asked about relationship building. You'll be asked about life in the UK. And you'll be asked about your future plans. Now, in those first 2 questions, leadership and influencing and relationship building, it's really important that you focus on exactly how you have shown yourself to be a leader and a relationship builder. One mistake we come across quite frequently is people giving us job titles to say that they've been a leader because they led this team or they had this good job title. But we actually want to hear behind the job title. It doesn't matter what job title you had, you can still be a leader. So we're less interested in job titles and we're more interested in specific examples about how you have shown leadership in your career. They should be recent. Don't give us an example from 5 years ago because then we'll be wondering, do you not have anything more recent than that? And they should be impressive, your most impressive thing. Something outside of the normal. Something that you weren't just told to do. Something that you took the initiative and thought, there's a gap here, I'm going to solve it. So that can be when you're out on your beat, when you're out finding stories, you discover there is an issue happening in a community that just isn't being talked about whatsoever by anyone. You had the difficult conversations with your editors to make it happen, and you brought that story to life. We'd much rather you focus on one specific story and one specific example than try and fit too much in. You only have 500 words. The only way that you'll properly tell us how you showed leadership is by focusing and being specific. We want you to structure your answers in this format that we call STAR. So STAR is starting off by telling us a situation. What was happening in the example you are giving? Give us the context. We don't know the context. The reading committee can sometimes involve people who are not in Pakistan, people who are looking at it from the UK. They won't even know how popular your news channel or news organization is unless you tell them. So give that context up front. Give the context of what it means in Pakistan, what this story means in Pakistan, and what you are covering means in Pakistan. Then tell us a little bit about the task you had. So specifically what you were doing, what was the problem? And again, contextualize the problem, because the people in the reading committee may not know what is a big problem in Pakistan and what isn't. So you need to contextualize it for them. All they have is what they're reading on the page. They will not look you up. They will not look up more. They will take what you give on the page as gospel. So make sure that you are telling the whole context, that you are not assuming that we will guess what the context is. You need to tell us exactly what that situation and task were. The majority of your response should focus on actions. So exactly what you did, how you did it, and why you did it. So we want you to really tell us everything you did in this example that you're giving. We want you to tell us the logic behind it, why you decided to do this thing, how you went about it. And we want you to give us in detail exactly why this showed initiative. So we don't want to just hear, someone told me to do this, so then I did it. We want you to say, I initiated, I realized this, I initiated this piece of work, I worked with these people, I brought all of these people together. We want to hear exactly what you've done. So active verbs and using I are really important to achieve that. And then we want to hear what the result of all of this was. What did you achieve? Was it that you made a difference in a certain community by doing a certain story? Was it that you made a difference in the way that we approach our reporting? What actually came out of this example? What was the demonstrable impact of what you did? Where you can use figures, that's also useful. So if you know how many people that story reached, tell us. If you have good quotes, if you got good feedback from people, tell us that. Put it in your answer. Relationship building, networking, a similar thing. Structure your response with situation, task, actions that you took, the actions including how and why you took those actions, and then the result. And tell us a specific example about how your relationship building and network skills have made you a better journalist. You're all journalists. You, therefore, have excellent networking skills. It is core to your job. We know that. So we want you to take a specific example of when networking has helped you do something really impressive and tell us about that specific example. And again, looking at a recent example, looking at an impressive example. Then it goes on to talking about studying in the UK. We want you to really think about why you want to do this South Asian Journalism Fellowship. Why aren't you applying for a different program? Why is it that you want to learn from the University of Westminster? What is it that Professor Jean Seaton, the person running the course, can offer you? What is it in the program that really attracts you to doing this fellowship? If you've done fellowships in the past, why is this going to make a difference? Why is it that this fellowship will offer you something different that you haven't had before? And think about what it actually means to go to the UK for a couple of months. Study a very, very intensive course, which is very full on. How will you cope with that? Will you be away from family? Have you ever been abroad before? Will it be a cultural difference? We don't want to hear that everything's going to be completely easy, because it is a difficult course. We want you to think about the fact it's a difficult course, reflect on the fact it's a difficult course, and tell us how you're going to handle it. So if you just say, I'm amazing, I'll never have any difficulty, that means that you've not really thought through how it will affect you specifically. So we want you to think that through and tell us what you're going to do to handle it. And we want you to think through what you want to look at when you're in the UK. You'll be doing a project as part of the fellowship. What are you interested in pursuing in that project? Why will this fellowship help you do that better? Is it that the UK has resources that are really important to being able to pursue this story? Is it the access to the other South Asian journalists? What is it that means this course will let you do the research that you want to do? And then you'll also be asked about your future plans. Here, we don't just want you to talk about how this will impact your career. We want you to talk about how this will make journalism in Pakistan better. How you will take what you have learnt and make a difference not just to yourself, but to your colleagues around you. So we don't just want to hear that you're going to get a promotion. That's great, but it could have probably happened without the fellowship as well. We want to hear how you will then take this knowledge and help your colleagues. Is there a gap you see that you think a fellowship like this could help you fill? Tell us about that. And tell us about how you will mentor others, how you will help others from maybe your community in journalism and use the lessons that you've learned from this fellowship to do that. So that's really, really important. A few other points. The South Asian Journalism Fellowship and Chevening are both genuinely for anyone, regardless of your background, as long as you're a mid-career professional and as long as you're able to do that course in English. So that is also an important part of it, is we don't ask for an IELTS test, but the application and interview are all in English. I'm saying a lot of this information in English right now. It is because you will be doing lectures in the UK and you will be doing seminars in the UK. All of your learning, all of your essays will all be in English. So you need to have the level of English to be able to keep up with those studies, to be able to apply. Taking that requirement and the requirement of work experience aside, we really want to emphasize that your gender, your religion, your background, your area of journalism, the area you are from Pakistan, that is not going to make a difference. In fact, we encourage diversity because diverse journalists make better journalists because they can reach different communities and they can reach different people and they can find different stories. The more diverse our cohort is, the better the results. So please do not think that it is for a certain type of person. It is for everyone. This fellowship is for everyone, as long as you are a future leader, as long as you can handle that you study in English, and as long as you've got those years of work experience behind you. So do not be put off and do not count yourself out. It is a competitive process. That doesn't mean you shouldn't apply, because the only way to guarantee you won't get it is by not applying. That's the only way. Otherwise, you have a chance. Another few top tips. It's really important to be authentic in Chevening and in your SAJP applications. We want to hear about you. We want to hear why you are a future leader and a change maker. No one else can tell that story except for you. So don't get someone else to write your application for you because it won't work. Don't get AI to write your application for you. You laugh, but we had this as a problem in our last year where lots of people were very obviously using AI and they let themselves down because they could have been fantastic applicants, but they cheated because we say clearly in our guidelines that you can't use AI, and then they used AI. It was obvious that they used AI and they were filtered out. So they didn't even have a chance. By using AI, they robbed themselves of the chance to have the fellowship. So don't do it. It's not worth it. What's the point of putting in an application that's immediately going to get rejected? Also, remember we do interview. So if it gets through to interview and the application was written by someone else or by AI, it becomes really obvious that you didn't do that application. Really obvious. And you will get rejected. So don't do it, because then that is taking away your chance. So do yourselves justice and write your applications yourselves. You can get feedback from colleagues, you can ask people for help, but the application should be written by you, because we want your story, and your story can only come by using your authentic voice. And don't be afraid to tell your story properly as well. If there's aspects of your personal background that feed into your story, tell us about them. Remember, the only thing that we know is what is written on the page of the application form. So if there's something really impressive, if there's something important, if there's important context, put it in the application form. Otherwise, we will not know. Another tip, and another area where, especially in Pakistan, and last year we saw some people falling down, don't be humble. It's easy to be humble. People are humble too much in their everyday lives. An application form is not the place to be humble. Being humble is a fantastic quality, but if you are too humble in an application form, we don't know if you're being humble. We don't know what you've left out by being humble. I always say, if you don't read your application form through and feel a bit embarrassed because you're showing off that much, then rewrite it. Rewrite it until you feel embarrassed. Because it's an application. You are telling the best about yourself in the application. It should feel a bit unnatural to brag, but it is the place to brag, because if you don't, we won't be able to know what you've left out, because all we have again is what you've written down on the page. So I really encourage you all to apply for Achieving and SAJP. So SAJP applications, for both Achieving and SAJP, applications are now open. They close on October the 10th for SAJP, and for Achieving, they close on November the 5th. SAJP is a set fellowship. So you are applying for this fellowship and the funding that comes with it. You don't need to do any other applications, it's one application. Achieving is applying for funding to study a master's in the UK. So you apply to Achieving for the funding, and at the same time, you apply to up to 3 universities for the courses that you are studying. So for Achieving, you need to both get acceptance to Achieving and acceptance to the university. So you need to do them both at the same time. Applications are now open. I really, really hope that you will apply. There are fantastic journalists in this room. I know firsthand just how incredible the journalism quality is here in Pakistan. I also know the challenges that you will face day to day. You are all capable of doing SAJP, of doing Achieving. So put the applications in. Don't count yourself out. Journalism is important now more than ever. Journalism is the way that we and the people see the truth. It's the way that people hear about the most important issues affecting them day to day. Whether it's politics, whether it's girls' education, whether it's climate change and the catastrophic effects it's having in Pakistan, journalism is the key to telling the most important stories and making them understood to people. And you are all the people behind making that possible. Your jobs are some of the most important jobs in the world. And we always feel proud to be able to be with you, to be able to speak with you. And we're proud to be able to work with you on the South Asian Journalism Program. At the end of the day, the thing that most makes this fellowship a success is you. So that's why, please apply. And